Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills housing update. So I've got July's numbers this week and my prediction was right, yay me, as well as what happened the first week of August. So let's take a look. Looking at our average price points in July. So I predicted that we were going to be up in terms of average price because we saw a far majority of our sales sell over 1 million last month, and I was correct. So in July of 2023, so last year, our average price was 1.107 million. And this July, it's 1.217. So that's a huge jump. And actually being over the 1.2 range has happened only a handful of months since the spring market of 2022. So this is kind of a weird thing. I'm interested to see what happens in August if we kind of keep this trend up where our prices don't actually soften, because it feels like house to house that our prices are softening, but we're seeing big ticket houses selling, so it's pulling things up. We had 54 units sell last month, and of that, 32 of them were over 1 million and 4 were over 2 million. So quite a lot of sales over that like million plus mark. So it brought everything up. In terms of units, last July we sold 53. So we're basically right on par with where we were, but our price is significantly up. And I'm just surprised seeing how many properties are selling over that million mark right now. It kind of doesn't make sense, and I have no analysis for it. But it's happening. I mean, it's good news for the sellers over the million mark because that has been like a super quiet price point, but just a little bit odd to see the sales under 1 million like completely stop, and then over 1 million is like very busy right now. So looking at what happened this past week in Georgetown, so things are definitely showing signs of slowing down for the summer. Maybe August is gonna be the dead month we thought July and August would be, and maybe just August. So we only had 8 sales in Georgetown. That's not a huge number, it's not super low, but it's definitely not our average. We did see 13 new listings. So again, double-digit properties continuing to hit the market. It's a lot of properties and it's just not slowing down. There's lots of coming soon, lots of stuff happening. I am still very surprised with how high our inventory levels are and just how many new properties are hitting the market in the middle of summer. So of the 8 that sold, 4 of them were over 1 million. So half of the properties that sold last week, because spoiler alert, no other markets had any sales. So 8 properties in all of Halton Hills. 4 of them were over 1 million, 4 of them were under 1 million. So really interesting to see our lower price points slow and still seeing movement in our upper price points. And like I said, it pulled up our average price this month. So looking at the other markets, Acton, no sales, 1 new listing. Glen Williams, no sales, 1 new listing. Limehouse, no sales, no new listings. Rural Market, no sales, 2 new listings. So we are not seeing the amount of inventory hitting our secondary markets the way it is in Georgetown. There is just so many properties coming on the market in Georgetown. So the other markets are super slow with sales, but thankfully like sort of slow in terms of new inventory. And then when we're looking at properties that came off the market last week, so we had 18 properties that terminated, relisted, or came off. Of those 18, 7 of them relisted at a lower price, so they've reduced their price and freshened up the listing. 1 of them relisted at the same, and we did have 10 properties come off the market. So that kept our inventory at bay this week because 10 properties exiting the market is a pretty big number. And I have been watching that number closely because it's very interesting to see if we are going to follow the trend of last year. When the market started to be really slow for sellers, we started to see a lot of properties exiting the market, and 10 is like trending towards that being a busier number. So looking at active inventory, all of Halton Hills remained the same this week at 220 active listings. It is still sitting extremely, extremely high. 220 is not our highest, but it's very close. Within that, Georgetown stayed the same at 128. When we look at our price points, under 800,000 is up slightly to 12 from 11. 800 to $1 million remain the same at 30. 1 to 1.5 million is up from 53 to 54, and 1.5 million plus is down from 34 to 32. So some movements within our price points that we look at, but nothing crazy. The real story is that there's 42 properties available under $1 million. I mean, our million plus inventory always sits very high, but under $1 million usually does not sit anywhere near where we're seeing right now. So just the whole thing about our average price, how many million plus sales we're seeing, it's really throwing me for a loop because it's just not our normal trend. So will that continue to happen in August, or are we gonna see things plummet here? I don't know. But it's interesting to note when you like trends and analyzing things, because it certainly doesn't make sense. So looking at our other markets, Acton is down slightly to 35 active listings from 36. Glen Williams is up from 6 to 7, nothing crazy. Limehouse still at a crazy high number of 8 active listings, the same as last week, and the rural market's the same at 42. So super high inventory levels still. The secondary markets are not seeing a ton of sales, but not seeing crazy spikes in their inventory. Georgetown, the only thing keeping Georgetown's inventory down right now is the fact that properties are exiting the market. If it wasn't for that, our inventory would be rising. So I'm very excited to see what happens in August. I really am curious to see if the interest rate reductions are going to start to pick up buyer activity. I'm interested to see if we see more properties exiting the market. I'm definitely interested to see if our million plus houses continue to be the majority of what is moving, because that has like never been the case. Well, I mean, in 2022 when everything was over $1 million, that's different, but really in our normal markets, it is just surprising to see the trend we're seeing. So I will be following it closely. I will be back next week. Have a great week, everyone.